Welcome back. And now to the issue of defections. Interesting movements here and there. We saw Chief Tom Ikimi and some other APC chieftains storm the APC for the PDP. But in the House of Representatives, the Speaker's decision to leave the PDP sparked a lot of controversy. How can we describe the manner in which politicians defected this year, Mr. Omoye?
It's ridiculous and embarrassing, and it's a disservice to democracy. I have always maintained the view that Nigerian politicians are just power mongers. They have an obsession with power. They are fixated on power. They are power freaks. And so they will do anything and everything to attain that power. And that power, we must remind ourselves, in most cases, is not used for the benefit of our people. When politicians dump their parties and move to the next party, what is it all about? It's not about principle, it's not about ideology, it's not about believing in the cause of a party. It's about power hunting. It's about hunting for a vehicle that can take them to the bosom of power. All that matters to them is how do they get that power. And I've said this. If a Nigerian politician were to realize that a party that is called the Armed Robbers Party of Nigeria is a surer route to attaining power, they would don their political party. And you may have a party called the Kidnappers Congress of Nigeria. They will jump in there if they believe there is a surer route to attaining power. So it's not about ethics, it's not about morality. There's no political morality here. They're just power hunting. And so when they get there, it's not surprising that they behave the way they behave.
Do we even have a distinction between the parties in the first place?
It's a distinction without a difference. We have distinction. Yes, they are labeled, they are logo, everything, you know. We have
in terms of ideologies,
but you know, these are parties of the right, really. What are they? All of them. You ask them, what are they talking about? What is their position on privatization? What's their position on education? What's their position on debt? What's their position on our economy? What's their position on healthcare delivery? What's their position on tax? What's their position on even war? Because we're waging war right now, and terrorism and all that. So they are like more or less Siamese twins. But you know, what goes on here is that a man is performing so disastrously. So we then imagine that if you go for the next man, he will perform better. That's the kind of thing that we are forced to accept. It's not about what is the distinction ideologically between this man that's in power and this man that says he wants power. What's the ideological difference? People are not bothered about that. People are bothered more now about instincts, about, oh, this man is better than this, so let's try him. Invariably, you may have a situation whereby maybe in a case out of 20, 30, there may be a difference. But in most cases, you are not going to have the remarkable, substantial, groundbreaking difference that people desire. Look, I have not heard anybody talking about, do you know how many private schools now in Nigeria pay their fees in dollars? Private schools. And all our elites are rushing their children there. Public education is destroyed completely.
Without a concern about the consequence on our economy.
What is the position of all these political parties on that? What you hear is that, okay, I want to go to Labour Party today as an ex-minister who wanted to be a governor. It's not possible. I'm Abga shifting. That's Labaramaku for you. And this is not personal. And so everywhere you turn, you see people who behave as if they have a divine right to rule, not to govern. Because governance and ruling is the two different things. And then, so with primitive recently accumulated money, building war chest. Once I go to office, I must be rich enough to contest the next election. If I'm a senator, I must be rich enough to be a governor, and so on and so forth. So it's like a vicious cycle. And so what we've seen, really, there's nothing about principle about it. Tambuwal leaving PDP for APC, he wants to be a governor. We've seen where it's ended. So it's about quest and contestation for power.
All right, let's quickly move. The national conference was a loud outcry from across the land. A lot of people were skeptical at first about the convocation of a confab. It did happen though, and now the report awaits implementation. Well, Mr. Inaji, do you think the confab report will help actualize the dreams and the yearnings of Nigerians?
Well, the fact of the conference having held against the backdrop of so many expectations of rancor at the early stage on its own is a very good development for the country. And the fact that a number of people were able to ventilate some of their feelings on certain burning national issues, or bring to the table or to the front burner some of the issues that were peculiar to their own areas of this country, which perhaps were being treated with some degree of levity. I think that was a plus. But I don't know whether I can sit down here and say that we can go further than that. Because in this country, we have permanent structures set by certain permanent interests to ensure that not anything good will happen, because those people have benefited so much from the profligacy of bad governance. They cannot now afford anything good, because whenever anything good happens, they begin to lose. And now talking about these deflections, and it is not so much about power alone, because there is an incentive for power. They use that power to ingratiate themselves, leverage themselves on the national purse. If you remove the economic aspect, I do not know how many Nigerians will be too keen about power. Like they say, decentralize the federal government, then you see the power toss will shift more to the states. Nobody will be interested in going to the center. So the issue is that many Nigerian politicians have become so lazy because they have free access to money or access to free money. They can no longer, that's why we had the story of a former deputy governor who contested for a local government chairmanship. You can't beat that. That's what he wants. And there are many Nigerian politicians, they have been ministers, they later become members of a small board, just to make sure that they have access to free things, you know, to be at the corridors of power. And they do anything, including prostrating. No principle, okay? And some of them come out to bore us with their claims to morality.
For example, how can, and this is not personal also, you know, Bamanga Tuko, Nigerian Railway Corporation, chairman.
Well,
I mean, from one, that extreme end to, I mean.
So, really, as a matter of fact.
Because they must belong to something.
Because they cannot, many of the politicians that we are talking about, many Nigerians know them. They are in and out. They are never out of power. Instead, they will be cleaners at the corridors of power.
All right.
So the issue is not so much about what the people are getting as what they are doing to ingratiate themselves. And they use this thing to cause mayhem in the system. So there's very, very few principled Nigerian politicians, and they are never in a position to influence things.
All right.
That's the unfortunate thing.